Welcome back to London Live News. My next guest has created a new solo show about what it's like growing up in South London as a working class woman. Performance artist Holly Beasley Garrigan stars in her own abstract work based on the 4 generations of women in her family who've come of age in the capital. Welcome, Holly. Not just come of age in the capital, in the same place, which is quite an unusual story.
I don't think it is very unusual. I think there are lots of people who have several generations going back living on the same council estate. I don't think it is a completely unusual story.
I was wondering, because the transitory nature of the city, people moving around a bit, lots of people coming in and out. But
yeah,
I think having like a sort of village feel in London does feel a little not quite as common as perhaps it could.
Yeah, perhaps not, especially not nowadays, I suppose. No. Yeah.
And so tell me how that has influenced you. You think it's quite a nice stability in some ways.
I think possibly it's a nice stability. Yeah. I mean, the show it's about those stories of the people who've influenced me in my life, but it's also about me having left that place and what it means for me to be a working class artist working today as well, and sort of feeling like you exist between these two worlds, but you don't really necessarily feel like you fit into either anymore. Which, yeah, and so that's, in some way, that's kind of how it's influenced me the most, I think.
And are you someone who doesn't think they're going to stay there? You think that if you go on to have children or something, they'll grow up in a different spot? Or do you plan to stay in the same?
I don't live there anymore, so, but lots of people in my family still do, and lots of my extended family still do. And so I probably won't bring my family up in that place. But while I was making the show, my mum died before, so this show is about, I've interviewed lots of different people from this place where I'm from, and she died before I got a chance to interview her. And so for me, this has been a bit of a homecoming, because I had to go back to my family home to clear it out, and I haven't been back for probably about 10 years. And so for me, this is the story of me coming home in a way.
Yeah. What have the rest of the family made of the project?
What have they made of it? They think it's interesting. They were all quite nervous about being interviewed. Yeah, I think they're excited to see what happens. I hope so.
And you bear yourself in this show, I'd say,
sort
of not physically but also emotionally. Tell us why you wanted to sort of strip the layers back, as it were.
So I've spent about 10 or so years making theatre with all these different amazing companies and telling all of these different important, wonderful, poignant stories about lots of diverse types of people. But then I look back on all of that and I realised I haven't made any shows where I tell stories about people like me. And so with this show, because it's my first solo show that I've made, after all of that, I wanted to take all of that experience and use that platform to elevate some new voices. Yeah. So.
Now, one of the issues with an artist in your situation is the potential to sort of upset those who you're representing or come from. Were you concerned about that? Did you just have to leave that behind and pursue the final product?
It's billed as an unreliable solo show because it is unreliable in so many different ways. It looks at this idea of 90s nostalgia, and nostalgia is really unreliable. Our memories are really unreliable, but also each of the stories I talk about and each of the women I talk about and the interviews I present, each woman has the pseudonym Opal Fruits. So that's partly to protect the identities of those women, because some of them have shared really personal stories, but it's also because it's their story, but it's my story, and I'm the person on stage telling that story. So hopefully it's very honestly unreliable and quite honestly slightly hypocritical, and quite honest. It's quite honest in that way, I think, and so I hope I don't upset anybody. I think it's a positive show.
Well, I'm positive it will be a great success. Holly Beasley Garrigan, thank you so much for coming and telling us all about Opal Fruits, which is on at the Vaults Festival from the 23rd to the 27th of January. The Vaults Festival, of course, taking place in Waterloo.